On my birthday, my father didn't give me a car, but a folder with my appearance schedule. When I walked into the room, I was sitting there, but with a different name. I turned 21 yesterday. My father put an envelope on the table. Inside was a one-way ticket to a city I had never heard of. "Your contract is over, Caspian," he said. He didn't even look at me. He kept adjusting his tie in front of the mirror. His debate was starting in 2 hours. Our family portrait hung on the wall. Me, Mom, and him, the perfect American dream. But in the envelope, next to the ticket, was a photo. It was another guy. He was standing next to my father, fishing. The same smile, the same scars on the knees. But it wasn't me. I had never been fishing with my father. I was always kept in a boarding school in Europe. I only came home last week. "Who is this?" I asked, pointing at the photo. Father finally turned around. His gaze was empty, like a mannequin's. "That is my real son," he answered. The air in the room grew heavy. I looked at the photo, then at my hands. "Then who am I?" My voice cracked. Father picked up a glass of water from the table. "You are a high-quality image investment." He walked to the window and closed the curtains. "The real Caspian is unstable. He ruins the ratings." I remembered all those years in Switzerland. The social media ban. The ban on calling friends. I was taught to speak, walk, and smile like him. I thought it was strict elite upbringing. Turns out, it was body double training. "We found you in an orphanage when you were 5, my mother spoke up. She entered the room rustling in expensive silk. "You were a perfect match. After a couple of surgeries, identical." She walked up and straightened my collar. Her hands were icy. "We needed the perfect son for the voters. And now that the election is over, I'm not needed? You've become too expensive to maintain," Father snapped. They didn't scream. They didn't cry. They talked to me like a fired employee. Mother handed me a stack of documents. "Here is the non-disclosure agreement." "Or what?" I threw the papers aside. "Or we annul your identity," Father said calmly. He sat in the armchair and opened his laptop. "Your passport, your diplomas, your insurance. All of it is issued in the name of Caspian Van Dorn. But you are not him. You don't have a birth certificate in your real name." I felt the floor slip from under my feet. They erased my past back in childhood, and now they were going to erase my present. "If you don't sign, you become a ghost. No job, no housing, no rights. You will simply disappear." I looked at the ticket. A town somewhere in Nebraska. $500 in cash in the envelope. That was the price of 16 years of my life. I ran out of the room without signing anything. I needed to see him, the real Caspian. I knew he was somewhere on the estate. Father always forbade me from entering the south wing. The security was at the debate with Father. The house was empty. I pulled the handle of the oak door. Locked. I found a spare key in a vase, like in old movies. Inside, it smelled of medicine and tobacco. A guy was sitting on the bed. He was pale, with dark circles under his eyes. He was my copy, but broken. "Oh, another one," he croaked. He wasn't even surprised. "Who are you?" I asked. "I'm the original," he smirked. "And you must be number 4. My heart skipped a beat. 4th? There were others? "Parents don't like defects," he coughed. "As soon as you start asking questions, they replace you." He pointed to a monitor screen. There was a live feed from the cameras in the living room. My parents were watching the recording of my exit and laughing. "Number 3 left last year," Caspian continued. He pulled a pack of cigarettes from under the mattress. "He got unlucky. He started believing he was actually a Van Dorn." "What happened to him?" I walked closer. Caspian blew out a cloud of smoke. "He had an accident. Officially, the senator's son survived. In reality, it was just another you." I looked at my hands, at the scar on my palm. "I got it at school when I fell off a bike." "This scar," I whispered. "Yeah," the original nodded. "They gave me the same one yesterday." He showed his palm, a fresh cut covered in antiseptic. "They mutilated him to match my accidental injuries. Or they mutilated me to match him." It wasn't just gaslighting. It was a total substitution of reality. Suddenly, footsteps were heard in the hallway. Heavy, rhythmic. The security was back. "Run, number 4, the original whispered. "If they find you here, they'll find number 5 tomorrow." I jumped out the window of the south wing, landed in thorny rose bushes. I didn't feel pain, only icy terror. I had nothing of my own. No name, no face, but my father's car was there. He came back early. I hid behind a statue in the garden. Father got out of the car, talking loudly on the phone. Yes, did the son sign the papers? No? He paused, listening to the person on the other end. Then block his accounts immediately. And call cleaning for his room. Clothes, to the shredder. Memory, to the trash. He said it so easily, like ordering a pizza. I felt my phone in my pocket. Account blocked. No service. But I had access to the school cloud in Switzerland. My exam records were stored there. Videos of my performances. I logged into the system via the estate's guest Wi-Fi. My profile was empty. User not found. They deleted me from the school database in 10 minutes. They controlled everything. In the bushes, looking at my shoes. Expensive handmade, bought with Van Dorn money. I am a product. I am a thing. But a thing can be defective. I remembered what the original said about number 3. The accident. Father built his career on the image of a defender of traditional values. If voters found out about the body double farm, his career was over, but I had no proof. All my photos are Caspian's photos. All my documents are fakes. Then I remembered Grandpa. Father hated his father, the old colonel. He lived in a nursing home in Virginia. Father said the old man had dementia. But what if he's the only one who knows the truth? I went to the back gate. The gardener's old bike was there. I got on it and started pedaling. I didn't have a plan, but I knew one thing. If I didn't reach someone from their past, I'd be erased before dawn. I rode all night. By morning, I was in Virginia. The nursing home looked like a prison. I'm here to see Colonel Van Dorn, I said at the reception. The girl looked at me and gasped. Oh my God, Caspian, the senator said you were in London. I decided to surprise him. I smiled my trademark smile. She led me to the garden. The old man was sitting in a wheelchair. His eyes were as clear as the sky. When I approached, he didn't smile. He squinted. Which number are you? He asked in a low voice. I froze. 4th, sir. The old man struck his cane on the ground. My son is a coward. He can't look reality in the eye. He gestured for me to come closer. The real Caspian was born with a heart defect. He wasn't supposed to survive. But my son decided a weak heir was a stain on his reputation. Then the old man opened a locket around his neck. There was a tiny memory card inside. Everything is here, he said. Checks from orphanages, names of surgeons, tuition bills for 4 boys. I was waiting for at least one of you to come to me. The other 3 just disappeared, I asked. The colonel darkened. Number 1 went back into the system. Number 2, he's gone. Number 3 escaped to Canada. He placed the card in my palm. My son thinks I'm crazy. That's why he locked me in here. But he forgot. I'm an old intelligence officer. At that moment, tires screeched at the gate. A black SUV blocked the exit. My father stepped out. He didn't look angry. He looked disappointed. Caspian, he called. Time to go home. Grandpa needs his rest. The security began to surround the garden. I clenched the card in my fist. This was my only chance to become a human, not a number. Stay away from him, Dad, I said. I held the memory card out like a shield. Father stopped. He recognized it instantly. You don't understand what you're getting into, he said quietly. Do you want to destroy the family that saved you? You didn't save me. You bought me. I started backing toward the fence. If you take a step, I'll call the police. I'll say you stole family heirlooms. Your fingerprints are all over the house. Your face is on every camera. You are a thief, Caspian, and thieves go to jail. He came closer. His voice became persuasive. Sign the papers. Go to Nebraska. Live your life. I don't have a life, I shouted. You took it from me when I was 5. I felt the cold metal of the fence against my back. One of the guards reached for his belt. I realized they wouldn't let me leave with that card. Shoot, the old man in the chair said. He suddenly straightened up. Go on, Edgar. Get rid of another one of your sons in front of his father. Father froze. His face twitched. A public scandal was worse than death for him. I seized the moment and vaulted over the fence. I ran through the woods, not looking where I was going. Branches whipped my face. I heard shouts and dogs barking behind me. They let the hounds loose. I reached a stream and jumped into the water to break the trail. The water was icy, but I didn't care. I sat in the reeds for 2 hours. When the noise of the chase died down, I took out the card. It was dry. The old man had wrapped it in plastic. I needed to find a place with internet that didn't belong to the Van Dorns. I came out to a small diner on the outskirts. Inside, it smelled of grease and cheap coffee. I sat at a corner table and opened the laptop sitting by the register for customers. I inserted the card. Files began to load. There weren't just bills, there were videos. Father, 10 years ago, discussing with a surgeon how to make my nose more aristocratic. Mother, choosing a boy with a similar eye shape from a child catalog. It wasn't just exploitation, it was a human manufacturing plant. I found the folder, number 2. There was a pathologist's report. Death by overdose of meds they gave him for calmness. They just threw him into an unmarked grave. I felt sick. I selected all the files and hit send. Recipient, every major news agency in the country. And one more, personally to my father, with a note. Contract terminated. At that moment the diner door opened. 2 men in black suits walked in. They weren't hiding. They were walking straight to my table. I hit the enter button. The progress bar froze at 99%. One of them put a hand on the laptop lid. "Step away, kid," he said quietly. I looked him in the eyes. Too late. The screen blinked, sent. At that exact second, both their phones rang. It was Father's headquarters. The panic had begun. They looked at each other and quickly left. I sat there in silence. An hour later, every TV in the diner switched to breaking news. Scandal in Senator Van Dorn's family. The secret life of the perfect heir. Photos of the 4 boys filled the screen. I saw my face, and number 3's, and the originals. That same evening, Father withdrew his candidacy. The reputation he had built for decades crumbled in minutes. I walked out of the diner. I had no money, no documents, but for the first time in 21 years, I didn't feel like a copy. I didn't know who I was, but I knew exactly who I was no longer. 6 months have passed. The Van Dorn family has officially ceased to exist. Father is under investigation for human trafficking and forgery. Mother moved to Europe, changed her name. The original Caspian is in rehab now. We write to each other sometimes. He's learning to live without cameras. And me? I live in a small town under a different name. A real one, the one I found in the orphanage's archive records. I work construction. My hands are calloused and dirty, and I love it. No one tells me how to smile. No one checks my tie knot. Yesterday I went fishing, alone. No cameras or scripts. I didn't catch anything. But it was the best fishing trip of my life. Because this time the person in the photo was actually me, not number 4, a human being. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the channel, like it, and click on the bell so you don't miss any more stories. See you soon.